Okay, good morning, everybody. I call to order today's Public Works Committee for Tuesday, May 16th, 2023. The time is now 9 o'clock. A physical quorum of the members is physically present. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Can I have a roll call, please?
Chair Garcia.
Here.
Vice Chair Ozog.
Here.
Member Cahill.
Here.
Member Desart.
Here.
Member Galassi.
Here.
Member Zay.
Here.
Now, I am physical quorum of the members is physically present. I will entertain a motion to permit Member Zay, who is not physically present due to personal illness, disability, employment purposes, or business of the board, or family emergency, to participate by video teleconference. I've got a motion, I've got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Welcome, Member Zay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, moving on into at the roll call, we got Chairman at Women's for Parks. I'm not going to make any because we've got a full crowd and a lot to discuss today. Is there any public comment today? Nope, no public comment. Great. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes of 23/17/92 Public Works Committee meeting minutes of regular meeting of Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023. We've got a motion, a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All approved. Motion carried. Motion moving on to claims reports. I'm looking for a motion to approve 23/17/93 payment of claims, Public Works and Facilities Management. Got a motion?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to consent items. Looking for a motion to approve 23/17/94 BCR Automotive Group LLC DBA Rochefort decrease and close the contract. We've got a motion, a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Looking for a motion to approve, 23/17/95 Joseph J. Henderson and Son Inc. Time extension greater than 30 days and no change in the contract total amount.
So moved.
Motion, second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the bid award of FMP 006623, a recommendation for the approval of a contract to AMS Mechanical Systems Inc. to furnish and install natural gas piping replacements and upgrades to the gas main and meter at the power plant for facilities management for the period of May 23rd, 2023 through May 22nd, 2024 for the total contract amount not to exceed $125,000 and $837. Got a motion, we've got a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the recommendation, moving on to FMP 006723, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Earthworks Land Improvement and Development Corporation for construction of stormwater detention and best management practices BMPs projects at the East Campus Detention Basin, facilities management for numerous building construction projects for the period of May 23rd, 2023 through December 15th, 2025 for a total lump sum amount of $2,793,517, which includes $364,371, 15% owner contingency for lowest responsible bid. We've got a motion and a second, I believe.
Second.
Any discussion? We've got Nick who's going to explain a little bit more about this project before we do our questions, and then we'll take questions after that.
Yeah, very excited to bring this forward. This has been a long schedule to get here. I know our staff, Jen Boyer, Tim Harbaugh, this is the detention we need for all of the campus projects we're doing. So this is covering everything from animal services expansion to the, we have the DOT expansion in the future, health department, all of the improvements we're doing. We were lucky enough to utilize the stormwater bid that they have. And because it is such a large amount, we went a step further and we actually got an independent third-party engineer to give us an estimate beforehand. And I'm happy to say that this amount is below that estimate. And so we had kind of a check and balance in here, but basically what this means is through the effort of staff and getting this project going as quickly as we are, and when they're gonna have it done, we will not hold up any of the projects on campus because we're able to do it. This will expand the basin on the far end, the eastern basin toward the fairgrounds. That's where we're going to be getting the extra detention out of this project.
Okay, any questions? Start.
Thank you. So I know with the federal guidance, the ARPA funds, stormwater was high in the priority for ARPA funds. Why is this only partially ARPA funded? Why can't we, is there a reason we can't totally fund this $3 million?
Yes, you could. We, with the animal services portion, this is funded by ARPA. Based on the allocation of facilities got, it was a juggling act. We are using the ARPA money for most of the HVAC work. I did send an email out last week to finance and others that said if you as a board down the road wanted to use ARPA funds for this, you can.
So if at the end of the day, if let's say there's ARPA money left over and we're up against it, we could always reimburse ourselves for the expenses on this. So we have that money sitting out there.
That's a good idea.
So it's kind of a balancing option that we have, and we can always reimburse because absolutely every portion of this project is ARPA eligible.
That's wonderful, because I keep having Mary Catherine's comment in my mind. We don't want to leave a dime of the ARPA money on the table. So let's make sure we spend it all. Thank you for those comments.
Member Evans?
Yeah, sorry, I did not read into this, but was there additional capacity built into the basin so that?
I mean, I can tell you that it has been a juggling act to get to all of the different projects we have. And it has been quite the juggling act, and Jen has kind of been our leader on that one, and Tim to do that, but we are right on the cusp. I mean, we're hoping to get a little bit, but we're just getting enough to get our projects done. But yes, it's a good point. And projects kept eating up what we were hoping to do for excess.
One thing Nick didn't add is that we will have capacity available for the health department that may be chewing into the DOT project. Health department, which you're gonna hear about next month. If that goes, that is a much harder priority. And then they would acquire, we've given them dollar amounts. I think we're at 320 an acre foot is our construction cost. That's all in with everything. So they're aware of that, that plenty of those numbers. This was the biggest moving target I've had in my career.
It's changed easily 20
all
times.
over the place. And eventually we had to crank it down and bring it to you because ground's being broken pretty quick. But no,
Yes, the design changed 20 times on this.
For the health department.
For all of the projects.
On and on.
Every other day we were going, okay, we're gonna have a new
Health department didn't
project,
exist
change
when we
this.
started it. It was not even a concept.
Well, good job.
Member Cahill?
Quick question, the contingency, the 15% held back, is that something we hold back?
We hold back.
Until we make sure everything's properly?
That's correct. So we built a contingency on the western basin, the one right in front of the annex. There is some erosion on the shoreline. If we get through this and our detention's our number one goal. If we get through it in the fall, we might have them do some shoreline stabilization. Because we're starting to lose the berm where the road goes between the two, just through wave action. And so if we get through it, then we'll work on shoreline stabilization. But our first priority is detention, because all of our projects depend on it. And in the fall, if we still have that money available, we'll work, because at some point, whether it's this year or next year or the year after, we have to do shoreline stabilization, or we will lose that road.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Okay, moving on to professional services agreements. Looking for a motion to approve FMP 006823, recommendation for the approval of an agreement between County of DuPage, Illinois and B3 Companies Limited to provide Phase 3 professional stormwater engineering services and engineering design for campus projects, facilities management for the period of May 23rd, 2023 through December 15th, 2025 for a total contract amount not to exceed $241,095. And a motion is second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving into sole source, we've got looking for a motion to approve PWP 003523, a recommendation for the approval of a contract to Rapid View LLC for parts and labor to repair the IBAC Source televising camera for Public Works for the period of May 23rd, 2023 to May 31st, 2027 for a contract total not to exceed $60,000. Got a motion?
Second.
Second. Any discussion on this? Edward Stark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Didn't we just purchase this? Tim, help me out. Didn't we just Purchased
is-
this televising sewer camera like last year?
No, this is actually in Public Works. We have two televising trucks.
Okay.
One of them is fairly old, one of them is newer, but these are it's the most corrosive, worst environment you can imagine
Well, I
putting
can
cameras
imagine,
into.
Yeah.
And so we do all our own televising. And so when parts break, this is a 4-year contract, just as we need it, we can buy parts. And if we have to have that particular part, that's why it's a sole source. So we don't have any particular needs that we have right now,
Oh,
but you never know. I mean, with these cameras, something's always breaking, you know, a seal might be leaking.
so we're buying the parts before there's.
No, we don't buy any parts. This is an on-call contract. It's in order to have it available, in order to buy whatever we need over the next 4 years.
Okay, thank you. I was just thinking, time flies and I've been on the board, this is my 5th year, but I thought we just purchased the kit. Anyway, all right, thank you so much.
Result was on.
Nick, are we still sharing? Thank you. Are we still sharing this equipment or were we sharing? this
So-
at
so
some
the-
municipalities?
Great point. We don't let them use it. They contract us and we go out there and televise, and then they pay us for the equipment and the manpower, but we don't let anybody use our equipment.
So it's through a contract.
Yeah, because there's a long amount of time to learn how to do it, and if you don't know how to do it, you can break it very easily. So we don't let anybody touch our equipment, but we do it a lot for municipalities where we televise their sewers.
So it's fairly significant that we're helping out.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, for a fee. Thank you. That's fine with me.
All right, any other questions on
Thank you.
this? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Looking for a motion to approve the action item of PWR 000323, recommendation for the approval of an easement agreement between the County of DuPage and the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County, providing for the operation and maintenance of existing sanitary interceptors within portions of the Waterfall Glen Forest Preserve. No additional cost to the county.
Second?
Motion to second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we're going into our presentations. I'm very excited for both of these presentations. The first one's going to be on our county campus EV charging stations. I believe Ian here is going to be doing the presentation. Something that I've been fighting for a while. Does Sheila remember Rutledge over there? Because we're looking for the future. We know that electric cars are all in our future somewhere down the line, so we have to be prepared to how we're going to charge them. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Ian, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Exactly what Paula said. We're going to look at the potential of electric vehicle charging status on campus here. So currently, we only have 2 parking spaces that are capable of charging electric vehicles. It's provided by our one dual port level 2 charger located right here in our 421 South parking lot. It's pictured right there on the right. I call that our lonely charger because that is our only charger on campus. We have no other way of charging electric vehicles. So as you can imagine, it's heavily used. We get about an average of 20 to 24 unique vehicles at that station each month. So there is competition. We've received complaints. We've even heard of employees that drive electric vehicles that don't even bother trying to use that station anymore because the competition is just so high to get a charge there. So we are currently not meeting campus charging demand, and that's going to continue into the future. We have an estimated 1 million visitors at our courthouse alone each year, and an estimated 10% of light duty vehicles on the road will be EV by 2030. So that's 100,000 electric vehicles going to our courthouse alone each year in 2030. So we are looking at readying our campus for this electric vehicle boom that's going on, as well as just getting ready for any grant funding opportunities from federal, state government, wherever it might come from, so that we can just be ready to go and install chargers. So this lovely map here is our proposed spots where electric vehicle charging stations could be located. We think these different locations would get a lot of use and provide a really good purpose to the public, to employees, to visitors. We have them ranked in high priority, moderate priority, and low priority. The high priority areas are the green ones, and I'll go over those in just a second. Something to note is that none of these locations that we've looked at are bad locations. They're all great locations that we think would get a lot of use. There's just red on some of them because there are some obstacles we have to overcome to put charging stations there. Also, this does not include our Woodridge wastewater treatment facility. They're also looking at electric vehicles at their facility. And so imagine a map next to this with their locations as well. So our highest priority locations, our first one is the 505 JOF building. As I said, we get an estimated 1 million visitors there each year. So it's highly trafficked area for the public. We believe that electric vehicle charging stations would get a lot of use now as well into the future if we were to put them there. The picture of it is right there on the right. And currently we're looking at putting those chargers right up next to the garage in the South 509 lot. And we're proposing, or at least not proposing, sorry, looking at purchasing and installing two dual chargers. And the estimated cost of that would be $50,000 to $70,000. We'd be doing the exact same thing at the care center, installing two dual chargers with an estimated cost of $50,000 to $70,000. The care center is our second highest priority because it also gets a lot of visitors, people visiting family, loved ones, friends, those types of things. And then our third highest priority location is here at our administration building. We would be looking at putting an additional charger right next to our lonely charger out there. If you notice, the price tag for for our 421 building is a little bit higher. And that is because we would actually be thinking about putting a fast charger there, which is a little bit more expensive, but it does give people a fast charge. They can get in and out of that parking spot much quicker. Here's a few of the current funding that's going on right now for charging stations. This is, in my opinion, the tip of the iceberg. I believe federal and state funding is going to continue for the next decade, 2 decades. But this is the current stats that's going on right now. I'm sure all of you are at least relatively aware of some of these things. So you might be thinking operational costs. How much do these things cost to use? So looking at one user charging at our lonely station there for about 2 hours of charge, it's going to cost the county about $1.05 to $1.15 in electricity. That comes out to be about a megawatt hour of electricity per month. And we can kind of round that to about $1,000 in electricity costs a year. So that station does cost us about $1,000 a year in electricity. So with that $1,000 price tag every year, as we add more chargers, something that we might want to consider is how are we going to kind of regulate these chargers? Are we going to charge a fee? Those types of things. Currently, our policy is that users are allowed a maximum of 2 hours at no charge at that electric vehicle station, and then we actually cut them off. So it's free for 2 hours, then we cut them off, kind of forcing them to vacate, and well, we don't force them, but requesting in a different way, I guess, to vacate that area so another person can use that charger. Now, our future policy would be dependent on the type of charger. So a fast charger that's going to use a lot more electricity, are we going to charge for a rate at time used, kilowatt hours consumed? And then what would our policy be for slow charging, flat rate, no rate for only the first 2 hours, and then charge some kind of rate? We would come back to, obviously, the committee for guidance on that policy if that time were to arise. But currently, it's just up in discussion and what would be most applicable to our campus. Any questions before?
Okay, real quick here. We're going to keep the questions really short today. If you have one quick question, you can ask just because we have the other presentation today. Ian's going to come back next in the 2 weeks to answer any questions you have on this presentation.
Sounds good.
So remember what, let you give a real quick one to ask. Otherwise,
As a new electric car owner, I would have no problem at all paying a little bit of money to help us recoup that $1,000. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, any other questions?
I'm just gonna pile on. I've actually had an electric car for almost 10 years and I've always just charged it at home. So just like you go to pay for gas, like I think there should be, hopefully those devices have a way that you can pay for your usage. Because to me, that should be on the consumer, not on the county.
Totally, and it's very customizable on how we can charge rates and things like that. So there's all the options in the world for us to do that.
Our thought would be that we move forward with building the facilities we talked about. And then once we have it built and functioning, we get a little bit of usage data, then we come back here as a public works committee and discuss what are our policies, what are our procedures for charging that. So our recommendation would be get them built, get them working, and get them throughout the campus, and then we can move forward with the policy at that point.
Yeah, but at that point, you risk ticking off the people that got it for free previously. So that's how I come by that.
Life change.
It's not a lot of money.
Member Say has a question.
Thank you. I'm just concerned if we're going to continue to buy electric vehicles for our fleet, shouldn't we have an area just where our fleet should be able to go by transportation? Where they'd be able to charge and not having to jockey with the public to get their cars charged?
Absolutely correct. We focus strictly on the public at this meeting, Jim. The meeting, the fleet is a different discussion, and that'll come later, but absolutely correct. Yeah.
You are spot on. We're not going to make, if we have electric vehicles in our county fleet, we will not make them, battle with the public to get a charger. We will have dedicated chargers for our electric fleet if we get there. So we will absolutely be, what we're talking about is public only or employees' personal vehicles coming in.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on then now to our next presentation. I think we're all super excited. What?
Nothing.
Oh,
She had a question. but
No,
she
no,
got
it's
the-
fine. Wait.
okay, yeah. Come back in 2 weeks.
I will. Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks, Rosa. The next one's, we've got a lot of members here that are very excited about this. I know we got member Childress, who's on the DuPage Historical Museum Board, I believe, correct? Member Desart, who's been working on the Heritage Gallery, along with a lot of people in the audience.
Becky Simon and Philip Buchanan.
Yes, so let's move on now to the DuPage County Historical Museum and DuPage County Heritage Gallery presentation.
And I will kick it off. So it's kind of a unique period because we have a need, historical museum has a need, and we found a real good opportunity to work together to maybe have a better final product for both and actually savings for both entities. And so working with the Wheat Park District, Mike Bernard is here, Jeff Madsen from our team, we've identified, and this presentation will show you an opportunity to maybe upgrade both facilities simultaneously. And so at that, I will kind of turn it over to Mike. We have a little bit of a history for those who don't know the history of our historical museum and where we fit in. It's a long history. We've had a good partnership with the Park District since, early 2000s when we started the partnership. So Mike, I'll kind of turn it over to you.
Sure, thanks, Nick. It's a pleasure to be with you today at the Public Works Committee again. And as Nick said, we've had a long and very positive relationship related to preserving the county's history and its artifacts. I have been in the role of the Executive Director of the Wheaton Park District since 2007. With me today is Michelle Podkova, who is our museum manager. She has been running your museum for the last 9 years and has been with the museum as a staffer for the last 13. So we've got a lot of terrific institutional knowledge. Michelle is your subject matter expert for DuPage County history. By way of context, again, the goal here today is to seek the leave from this committee to begin a qualified base selection process for a design consultant for 2 exhibits, both the Heritage Gallery in this facility, as well as the Enduring Values permanent exhibit at the DuPage County Historical Museum building. Some additional context and some history, and I do know that time is short. The building itself, the DuPage County Historical Museum building at Wesleyan, Maine in downtown Wheaton, was built by resident John Quincy Adams and donated to the city. Now that John Quincy Adams is related to our second president. He is a 4th cousin twice removed.
He is not the president.
He is not the president. And it is the first and most consistent question we get when people walk in the door of that place, and we're all experts on that little piece of that little factoid. So the museum itself was operated via a memorial trust until the city created a tax levy to support it in 1923. And it served as the city of Wheaton's library and cultural center for the city of Wheaton until 1965. It reopened in 1967 as the DuPage County Historical Museum, which was purchased by the DuPage County Historical Society, and any ownership was transferred to DuPage County. And that ownership of the artifacts and the buildings carries forward to this day. It was operated by the county with the Historical Society as advisors. And the DuPage County Historical Museum Association was formed in 2004 to refine its operational and long-term plans. Shortly after that period of time, we became aware at the Park District through our relationship at the county that there were some challenges being faced by county administrators in relationship to operating the museum in a cost-effective manner in relationship to the service output. Well, we approached the DuPage County in 2007 related to an operating intergovernmental agreement whereby the county would maintain its ownership of the artifacts and the building, and the Wheaton Park District would operate the museum and staff the museum through an intergovernmental agreement and a joint funding program. So we took over staffing and operations essentially in 2008. We reorganized the association into the DuPage County Historical Museum Foundation. It's a 501c3 organization, and its existence is advisory in nature, but primarily fundraising in nature, both for operating and capital infrastructure improvement and exhibit improvement at the museum itself. So we have cooperated significantly and brought in a large amount of dollars, both from the philanthropic community as well as through state and federal grants to maintain this structure. We have spent the last 12 years making sure that we had a new roof, that the building envelope was secure, that the HVAC systems were up to date, that our entrance was accessible. And we are actually putting to use real soon, we'll be going to bid, I believe, Tim, on a $750,000 structural stabilization and gutter and downspout project. This will be the second major piece of funding coming through the Department of Natural Resources through their historic grant program. And we've had a lot of success partnering with the county and making those applications. So in the time that the Park District has had oversight of operations and staff, we've put nearly $2 million into the museum's upkeep. Again, through philanthropy and through bringing grant money back home to DuPage County from the state and federal governments. And we're very proud of that. We want to continue on that road. We're at a point where it is time, and part of our intergovernmental agreement, the Park District made a series of certain commitments to the DuPage County Board related to operations, but also related to our goal to reaccredit the museum at some point in time and to update what we call the permanent exhibit, which is the enduring values exhibit. And those two things are not mutually exclusive. In order to maintain and retain and maintain our accreditation as a museum, as an institution of history, that exhibit is one of the items, as well as all of the building infrastructure and upkeep that needs to be maintained and meticulously documented by Michelle over here in order to maintain our approach of achieving best practices and meeting those standards of excellence for museum operation on your behalf. Where we are today is we have been discussing the Heritage Gallery with staff and certain board members for a number of years now. And we find ourselves at this point where it is the right time for us to begin design work on the Enduring Values exhibit. And it has been determined it is the right time to begin a design of an update of the Heritage Gallery. Through some coordination meetings and some organizational strategy, we determined that seeking some qualified consultants to design and seek information from all the stakeholders on what this vision for both of these exhibits could be, so we avoid duplication and we make sure we stay coordinated. It's the right time, and as Nick had pointed out, we believe there's certainly opportunities for cost efficiencies in jointly seeking a consultant to design and seek and extract the vision from all the key stakeholders for not only the Enduring Values exhibit at the museum, but the Heritage Gallery here at DuPage County headquarters. And we will continue to raise money through the foundation. Once we have a design vision for the Enduring Values exhibit, that will allow us to take that vision on the road and not only begin a capital campaign for funding it, but also that vision will put us in a great place for seeking additional grant funding. And the historic grant program that's administered by the state of Illinois Department of Natural Resources is unique, and it does allow not only capital infrastructure, but it does allow permanent exhibit update as a funding target, which is fantastic. So I believe that puts us to where I'm kicking it over to Jeff.
Yep.
So I will do so.
Yeah, next slide, Monday, please. I'm Jeff Madison. I'm in facilities. I've done a lot of work, particularly with Michelle, coordinating the county resources, and trying to take care of the museum best as we can. So yeah, when we heard they're updating the exhibits, we've had a lot of discussion on our side about the Heritage Gallery downstairs. You're probably all aware, it's on the first floor down there. It goes back 40, 45 years. It was originally at the Wheaton Museum location. Then it was moved to the 421 building and rededicated in 2000. Those are the exhibits you see down there now. Those haven't been updated in 23 years now. They're in very good condition. It's just a very dated concept of, it's more of a Hall of Fame type thing. It's not a general county history. We feel like there's a lot of opportunity that has been missed and not paid attention to. So this is just a great time to utilize both museums' resources and coordination abilities to get a third party in here, take a fresh look at the space. If you go to the next slide, Wendy. Particularly, we know there's a lot of community interest already in this project. We would love to work with them and the firm that's selected with this to determine where we want to go. We have a lot of opportunity to coordinate with museum space. If there's a digital component, maybe we can have exhibits that are updated over time. For the county's portion of this QBS, we would not take it all the way through bid drawings. We'd look more for initial concepts, designs, and initial estimates for construction. And then we would bring it back to committee here to talk where that funding would come from, how far we want to take it, how we feel about the concepts, that sort of thing. And again, if we're going digital, we'd love to reuse these displays. Can we just reskin them and, have different time periods in history for each one? We're not sure what we'll end up at this point, but when you do a nice one. So again, like Mike said, it's just a great opportunity to coordinate all this. Instead of being competition with museum, we can make sure we don't step on each other's feet. We don't duplicate concepts. Maybe they sync together, or maybe we rotate things between exhibits. All the ideas that come out for one space, maybe they make more sense in the other space. And since this is all one process, that gives us the opportunity to find the best path forward. Next slide, please, Wendy. So today, again, we're looking for direction just to proceed with this QBS. I can probably talk about next steps here, but-
And for us, the opportunity was pretty compelling. The fact that we can have an expert on staff with Mike's staff helping us. We get a third party expert to come in. Our goal would be to get every stakeholder who has an interest in it involved. We come back to you with designs. I know there's a lot of interest out there, both internally and externally. And then we would come back to you, and obviously the Wheaton Park District will move forward with theirs, and we can do, once we get to a point where the designs are done, we can move forward together or independently with construction, which is great.
Thank you. I've been working on this for 4 years with Becky and with Philip Buchanan. And I don't know anything about the Enduring Values exhibit. That's brand new to my ears. But the Heritage Gallery is pretty special. And I've heard about design and different things and people you want to bring in. But I haven't heard about the main concept that we're going for, which is diversity, inclusion, and not having 11 white males and 1 white female in our exhibit. So the diversity and inclusion is very, very important to those of us who have been working on this for years, doing research at various libraries around the county, and speaking with historical figures like, what was that man's name? We went to his house twice. Bob Jacobson, who knows everything about DuPage County. I mean, we've really spent hours and hours on this. I don't want to get, and I don't want to get diversity inclusion off the table.
Absolutely.
And I do know, Becky, you could speak to this better, but we did talk to the Historical Museum at one time about helping us with the project. They said that they were too busy to help with the project. Isn't that true?
We have a very limited staff. There's only 2 full-time people. We run an entire museum and do everything within that. We do have a couple part-timers. So we did not have the capacity, especially tail end of COVID.
Oh, that's true
issues.
too. Yeah.
And this would be, the consultant would be doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Our staff would be coordinating more of the local effort here.
If I may,
Enduring Values exhibit or with the Heritage Gallery?
for both, if I may interject. So number one, the DEI component of the Heritage Gallery, and I took part in those initial conversations where we were not talking about bringing in an outside consultant. We were talking about the museum staff taking the lead on all of that, which is, so you're absolutely accurate. We said at that point in time, it looks like we're going to cram 10 pounds of effort into a 5-pound staff bag. So that's why we backed off a little bit. Now we have this opportunity to coordinate together to bring a consultant in to do a lot of that extra work to extract that vision, including DEI components for the Heritage Gallery, but also for the Enduring Values exhibit, because it's a key part of our history, regardless of what exhibit you're creating. So that coordination becomes even more important at this juncture. So I can assure you, from our standpoint in our dialogue, the original goals of where the people like yourself who are involved in what the Heritage Gallery can become, all that is absolutely on the front burner as it relates to what this consultant will end up doing. And again, those dialogues will continue through stakeholder meetings, through the consulting process, to achieve the vision of what the Heritage Gallery can be, as well as the Enduring Values exhibit.
And you know, my concern with that is that the consultant comes from DuPage County, because we've interviewed Michael Childress in his role at NAACP when he was still president there. We've interviewed Bill Liu, part of the Xiling Chinese community. We've interviewed people like Laura Welch, part of the Jewish women community. I mean, we've already gone out and talked to people, the LGBTQ community, about people from DuPage County that we might highlight in the Heritage Gallery. And also, so that's why it's so important that the consultant come from DuPage County, so that they know these various stakeholders when we do this. And we didn't even decide yet if we want to identify people in DuPage County. What if we want to do an exhibit on the Underground Railroad or other? I mean, there have been so many discussions over the years that please keep us in the loop on this.
And the
because
one
we
thing
have-
I will guarantee you is what you're not gonna see is we're not gonna come here with a final design going, this is what we want to build. We fully understand the, how
Passion
the
that we
interest
have.
and the passion by all of the board members. You will be involved early and often. And the path that we're recommending gives us the best opportunity to get to an end result that everybody's happy with, because this is beyond the expertise of what we have internal, and even what Park District has, because we need somebody to be able to look at what we have down there for not the exhibits per se, but the structure of the exhibit. Can we reuse that for any artifacts down there? So there's a lot of things we don't know. And so we hear loud and clear. I mean, everything you're saying will be part of the QBS that we put on the street. I will say that with the QBS, because we are not, although that's something we can talk about, we're not a home rule community, so we can't put in a requirement that you have to be a DuPage County firm, but we understand the importance of it, and we absolutely incorporate that.
Question.
So my thought is, have you reached out to the Elmhurst Historical Museum? Because they have a great resource of people there that might be able to help you. And you said your staffing and so forth. They might have a lot of good information from you.
We did consult with them last November on starting this process, how their process went. They actually ran into a lot of roadblocks, which is why they have such a diverse network now.
Okay.
And so we did get a lot of tips and tricks from them for this process.
Good. And then my second question is regarding the funding. So we have grant money we're going to go out for. You're going to raise through the foundation, the 501c3. What are we talking about in terms of our county's responsibility, or what you're looking to the county portion of, or the taxpayer portion to fund this?
And I can handle that. As far as the funding for the design portion, that we have that incorporated in existing money available, older grants that have money available, so that's covered. What we don't have covered is the construction phase of this, and that will be two separate entities. We will, I mean, it's my understanding from your standpoint, the fundraising you're talking about is primarily related to the Wheaton Park District, the Historical Museum. We will have to come up with the money for our Heritage Gallery at that point. I can't even tell you a price of it. And that will be during the process, we'll come to you and say, here is the price. I can't tell you what we paid for other exhibits throughout the campus, like the Bauer exhibit over there. It was a little bit south of $100,000. And that's a fairly small area. So we are talking about a substantial commitment that everybody has to be aware of, but we don't even know what to ask for yet until we design to figure out what we're going to do down there.
If I might add to, I'm sorry. if I just might add one thing, and maybe it's relevant to your question, but I just want to be clear, and I completely understand the urgency and the passion related to the Heritage Gallery, but I want to make sure that it's clear here, and I hope we've made it clear through the presentation. The Enduring Values exhibit is not the Wheaton Park District's exhibit, it's your exhibit. It's every bit as much as your exhibit as the Heritage Gallery is your exhibit, and we are simply the stewards of county history on your behalf. We will be undertaking fundraising and we will be seeking grants in cooperation with county staff on your behalf. There will be a significant amount of money needing to be raised on Enduring Values as well. And if I may take your question one step further, at the point in time when we have the vision for both exhibits and the funding estimates are now identified, that is when we will come back and say, okay, here are our fundraising goals. Here are our grant solicitation goals. Here's the timeline that might realistically work in. And we're on kind of we're on two different roads, but going parallel with one another, ideally for those efficiencies. And we've achieved a lot of efficiencies with this regional local partnership that we've had.
And
for a number
the
of
one
years.
thing that we lose track of around here is the fact that we, DuPage County, own every single artifact over there. So that in reality, that Enduring Freedoms exhibit is kind of our exhibit.
It absolutely is.
And so those are our artifacts out there. So we need to do this QBS phase in order to be able to even talk logically about the next phase. And we need to, and everybody we're talking about, it will only be successful if we have all of the stakeholders included. And that is what our expert will do, is help us get all of the stakeholders included to figure out what are we doing? What is our focus on? How are we going to display it? What do we want to, what is our, is it a timeline of everything? Is it just the history of the county? How are we going to do it? Those are the things we'll figure out during the process.
Vice Chair Ozo.
I am not quite clear. First of all, QBS, I missed this acronym.
I was gonna clarify, I'm sorry.
Qualification-based selection process. It's new to me too, which is why it's right.
We will, so
basically.
I know the concept, I do not know the acronym.
So what it means basically, we are going to advertise in conjunction with Wheaton Park District far and wide to get all the experts that do this, because there are many people that do it. We want to see what their expertise is. Have they worked on museums? What is their expertise?
Fine.
We will rate them and we will pick the best one to give us the best product.
And your sentence just now is my next question. I'm not clear on the Wheaton, so I think I heard that the Wheaton Park District will be putting out this QBS?
We'll be putting it out together.
It is a
essentially.
joint,
Yeah.
okay.
So it might
So
most
it's a-
likely through our procurement, it would go
Okay,
out.
so we will have input in terms of a purpose statement.
Yeah,
in
we
terms
co-authored it together. There's a draft that we've been working on
Okay.
for over 2 months now.
And that's where we can get into the issues Member Sar
You
brought up
betcha.
about diversity, inclusion, et cetera.
We're
Okay.
following the
again, Mike,
guidelines
what is it?
that you hire engineers, architects. and
QBS is
surveyors.
qualification-based.
We select
selection
the right firm, we
process.
negotiate a price based on the firm.
Okay.
Under state statutes, it's illegal to negotiate a price with more than one engineering firm, so we're kind of following that
So we need
approach.
to
of
choose
procurement.
first based on the qualifications,
Right. And
then we can
negotiate
discuss,
price.
and we will have input. I missed that part with not just the park district. It'll be a dual
There will be,
effort.
we've heard every loud and clear, and we've
Okay.
known that. And that's been part of our planning, is the engagement of the county board, of all the stakeholders
Okay.
will be frequent and often.
And as you said, perhaps it'll probably be our procurement department.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I so
For every-
appreciate, go ahead.
I'm just one final thing. For every major undertaking that we have jointly cooperated on, we manage our relationship and identify roles and who's in charge of what in this partnership through a subsequent intergovernmental agreement. The last two major capital improvements that we funded together through grant funding and in some cases philanthropy, what we do is we create, maybe you've seen them in the past, we create an intergovernmental agreement specific to that project, and we make sure that our roles and our goals are identified and who's doing what, who's holding the dollars, who's letting the bids, and how the process goes through in the case of grants, and because there's a great deal of administrative, preamble as well as post work that needs to be done, who's doing all that work.
We
So
have the road.
every single step of the way, the park board and the county board will have the opportunity to weigh in on that.
Thank you.
And again, go ahead.
I just, at the end, we just need to have the direction of, yes, move forward with the QBS process. And and what we can do, we can share the QB, you know, our letting what we're doing to make sure that we have it in there. If we've got the go-ahead, then I'd like to move forward.
Yeah. We've got to get going unfortunately because the next committee, real quick question.
And what is the QBS process? Is it just the nuts and bolts of the museum? Or is it part of what goes into the
The
museum?
QBS process is simply going on the street to pick the consultant that we are going to pick to help us design it. That's all it is.
So it's just the nuts and bolts,
So all we want to do, we want to pick a very, very qualified consultant to help us get through and design this and engage the stakeholders. That's all it is us going on the street, finding the right person to be our partner, the Wheaton Park District, DuPage County, to move both these initiatives forward. That's the only thing. It has nothing to do with construction. Design will happen over the next several many months. We'll be coming here. This is simply to go on the street and find a partner to help us design and figure out how to do the
So once
exhibits.
you find that partner, I'd love to take that partner to some of the places that we've gone already, like we went to Wheaton College and went through their library to find out.
And that's, once we engage the partner through a contract, we will absolutely have those meetings with all of the interested stakeholders.
Right. This has been a great discussion. I know there's probably more questions. If there's more questions, you can email Nick or myself and we'll get those questions answered. Unfortunately, we've got another meeting that's got to start if they haven't already started. I want to get a consensus here real quickly before everybody leaves. Are we in consensus that the QBS can start? If I can see our show of hands. Yes, okay, perfect. Okay, I think you know your direction. Okay, any old business? Okay, real quickly.
Yeah, quickly, I had a constituent reach out about the condition of the fallen police and firefighters memorial, and I think there's a service there tomorrow. And they're just checking to make sure that the police memorial looks very faded compared to the firefighter and just overall cleanup. I've talked to the sheriff, I've talked to Deputy Sheriff Moore about this. I'm just checking to make sure that this is on somebody's
It's
radar.
been reached to us, the grounds crew are cleaning up, we are reaching out to, I will not have it done by tomorrow, because we use a monument firm, similar to the monument you see at a cemetery, we are scheduled for that to come out and have those redone.
But it'll look like something's been done over there for the memorial tomorrow, then I take it.
Can't get it done overnight, no.
No, I understand the
No, but it needs to
memorial,
be
but
done, correct.
they
Yep.
talked about chip
Right.
and just the
Yep.
general
Right.
condition of it.
No.
Okay.
So that
Thank
will
you.
be coming. Thank you
Yeah,
for
thank
letting
you.
us know that. Any new business? Motion to adjourn. So moved. Second. You're adjourned.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great presentation, everybody.